prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can't push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Hungaroring. We are here just 20 minutes away from Budapest, ready for the third race weekend of the DTM season, and it's definitely going to be an exciting race. The circuit is embedded into hills and it's absolutely lovely, but even though the sun is shining, it's pretty windy, so it's going to be very tricky. And it's going very well for Audi. 5 Audis in the top 5 in the qualifying, and in P3 is Eki, Matthias Ekström. You actually won here last year and today you're starting in P3, so it's looking pretty good. What's your feeling for the race?
Yeah, I think we were good here last year, and I think it proves today again that we have found something extra here compared to the opposition. But in qualifying I managed P3. I have to say René did a good job and Jamie as well, so we need to find a little bit more pace to be really on pole. But anyway, looking forward to the race, but I think I never raced with so much wind, so it would be very exciting.
I was going to ask you about the wind. I mean, we can see the grid girls almost flying away behind us. Is the wind going to have impact on it?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're going to turn 1, you have a lot of grip because for the moment it's headwind. But then when you go into turn 2, it's the contra way. Then you have a lot of tailwind, so you will come a lot faster. Plus that the car is not braking so good. And I think you will see some mistakes going into turn 2 because people get caught by surprise.
All right, well, thank you very much. Best of luck for the race. And before we start racing, let's have a look back at the Lausitzring.
He has extended his lead. Lucas Auer continues to dominate the current DTM season. And even though not everything was going perfectly for him at Lausitz, on Saturday he scored an undisputed lights to flag win. But on Sunday he was only 10th.
Yeah, first I have to say I destroyed my own qualifying race. Very good first lap. I think I went from 15th to 9th. And then I had some good fights. But at the end P10, I thought P7 was possible, but still, great weekend.
It was another driver who scored the most points, Auer's fellow Mercedes driver, Robert Wickens. A second place and a third place were his strong response to the disastrous season opener that he'd had.
Fortunately, I got my season started this weekend instead of in Hockenheim with scoring no points in Hockenheim, but yeah, really happy with the podium. Quality's been good, the whole weekend's been fantastic, the car's unbelievable.
The second race weekend had plenty of déjà vu. Auer and Green were the race winners at Hockenheim, and it was likewise at Lausitz, as it was Audi's Jamie Green who came out on top on Sunday. 2 other Audi drivers also had reason to celebrate. René Rast scored his maiden podium finish, and Matthias Ekström demonstrated his class one day later as he worked his way up from 8th to 2nd.
It was a very different race. Pit on the first lap and do the whole race with one set of tires. For me it was kind of challenging, but still I'm happy with P2.
For BMW, on the other hand, things didn't go as planned. Defending champion Marco Wittmann was nowhere to be seen. Maxime Martin was the Munich-based brand's best driver. 4th in race 1, the Belgian was the only BMW driver scoring points. In the second race, he was only 8th. There is need for improvement.
It was a difficult race for BMW, I have to say. I mean, having 2 cars in the top 10 and only in 8th and 9th was definitely not what we were looking for.
Mercedes clearly is the benchmark at the moment, on top in all 3 standings. Beating them is the goal, starting in Budapest.
So now I'm here with René Rast. Fantastic job you did today in qualifying. You snatched your first pole. So I guess it would be quite nice to also do your first win here in Budapest. What's your gut feeling?
Yeah, obviously at the target, but it's not gonna be an easy race. I mean, the conditions has changed a little bit with stronger winds now, so we might need to adjust the tire pressures a little bit to that. But in general, I think we have a comfortable position with some Audis behind us, so there will not be a lot of fighting, hopefully. But in general, yeah, I hope we have a clean and a good race.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Yes, here then is the start grid for today's race. Pole position to René Rast for the first time in his DTM career. Jamie Green starts alongside.
And on the second row of the grid, we got Matthias Ekström in the Red Bull Audi alongside him in Nico Müller P4.
Row 3, Mike ROCKENFELLER having a great season. Augusto Farfus, best qualifying so far, starting 6th.
And on the fourth row, a 10th shy of Farfus's Loic Duval in the Audi. Lucas Sauer, P8, the highest of the Mercedes on the grid.
That's right, Gary Paffett starting this one in 9th. Fellow Brit Tom Blomqvist for BMW is 10th on the grid.
Robert Wickens, he'll be looking to bounce back after a tricky qualifying. He's got Maxime Martin in the BMW alongside him in P12.
Paul de Rest, the 2010 champion, and Timo Glock start 13th and 14th.
15th on the grid, reigning champion Marco Wittmann. Didn't expect to see him down there. Edo Mortaro, the runner-up last year, P16.
Bruno Spengler, another former champion, and Mara Engel at the back of the grid. So BMW looking to bounce back. Jens Marquardt is on the grid with Verena.
Yes, I'm here with Jens Marquardt. Now we've got 5 Audis, and then behind the 5 Audis, we've got our lonesome Augusto Farfus, because he hasn't got much backup because only in P10 is Tom Blomqvist. So I guess it's going to be a pretty tough race.
Yeah, definitely a tough race, you have to say. 5 cars of one brand in front. This is far from ideal, but that's the situation, and we just have to fight. We have to try and do the best from a strategy point of view, pace and everything, and see. Yeah, still an hour of race, and we have to do our best.
Of course. And what about the wind? Is that going to have a strong impact?
Yeah, it's the same for everybody. So it's something that the drivers have to obviously watch out for. But no, I would say it's it's the same for every car, for every driver. Have to be careful. But I think the challenge is really with that setup on the grid to get your race really as you want it underway, and that's what we have to try and do.
All right, well, best of luck, Jens Marquardt. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena, down there on the grid. Chris Hartley and Leo Gorman trackside here at, as you can see, a very gusty circuit here at the Hungaroring. 4.4 kilometres of track, 14 turns. It's a tight, twisty circuit with a couple of quick sections. There is your championship leader, Lucas Sauer. He's taken 2 race victories so far this season, a pair of wins as well for Jamie Green. BMW still looking for their first victory, but he's a little bit further down the grid for this one, Lucas Sauer, with work to do if he can make his way up the grid. There for the first time on pole position then will be René Rast. It's becoming a few weeks of firsts for René, because in his first full season of DTM, he's managed recently at the Lausitz Ring to pick up his first podium. Now he's got his first pole position. Can he get his first win? Loic Duval with a good start as well to the weekend in qualifying, the Formula Mon winner, the Frenchman coming into DTM, and he's starting 7th on the grid. But Audi's right at the top of the field. They filled the first 6 places in the first race here last year. They won both of the races. You heard from Matthias Ekström, one of the winners. Good to see Augusto Farfus having a good run here, formerly a runner-up in the championship, of course, but having a tough couple of seasons, the Brazilian driver, and he'll be looking to work his way up through from the 3rd row of the grid for BMW. So it's the best of the BMWs. It's Audi's filling the first 5 places on the grid. There's Jamie Green, who celebrated his birthday in the middle of the week. Loic Duval likewise celebrated his birthday. And there is Mike ROCKENFELLER, who's one of 6 DTM champions that we have on the grid. And Mike making a really good start to the season this year for Audi Sport Team Phoenix. He runs in 4th place in the championship. After qualifying, because you get points for qualifying this season as well, with 3 points for pole, 2 points for second on the grid, 1 point for third. It's 69 points for Lucas Sauer, 55 points Jamie Green, who picked up a couple of points for qualifying. Gary Paffett's on 46, Mike ROCKENFELLER on 41 in 4th place. And you have then Robert Wickens in 5th. And René Rast, actually, with his points from qualifying, moving up into 6th position in the championship. Then Nico Müller with a good qualifying session as well. And the Playboy Audi is going to be lining up just behind Jamie Green and starts on the 2nd row of the grid. So I have a fantastic race coming up. It's a sunny race. It's going to be dry, but the wind, as we've heard, is going to be having an effect in the race to come. So they can see it's a slightly cloudy sky, but it's going to be dry for the race. Earlier on in the weekend, there was a forecast of possibility of rain, but I think it's going to be dry now. And there you can see just how close it was in the qualifying session that we had this morning. 76 thousandths of a second between René Rast and Jamie Green. Jamie had actually held on to pole position for much of the session, and it was only in the last couple of minutes that we saw René Rast coming through. He was the quickest in Sector 1, the quickest in Sector 2, and he put a PB into Sector 3 as well to get right up there. The best of the Mercedes, even though he's back on the 4th row of the grid, is still Luca Sauer. BMW with reasons to be hopeful, though, because although Audi dominated this event last year, the time before we came here in 2014, Marco Wittmann in the season in which he won his first championship getting through. There's a very novel way of playing table football, but it's part of the entertainment that we have here at the Hungaro Ring, and it's great to see, isn't it, Lee? We've got a really big, enthusiastic crowd gathered here for what should be a fantastic race.
Absolutely, Chris, and you know it is great to see such enthusiasm. If you open the door of the commentary box and look out just on the grandstand below, it's absolutely packed with fans here to see races this weekend. It's going to be an interesting race if you're Mercedes, I think, though, because as we saw the first 2 rounds at Hockenheim, where strategy really played a part for the likes of Mike Rockenfeller at Audi, the Mercedes are probably thinking, well, they have to do something because 8th place, and the rest of the grid are almost the way down.
OK, so we've got more insight on the grid. Dieter Gas from Audi speaking to Verena Reed.
So last year Audi won here, both races, and again today Audi's showing that they're extremely strong. You've got the 5 positions with Audi. I guess it would be nice to have the same result in the race today.
Oh yes, we would be extremely pleased with that, for sure. But we'll see. We always know the start is a very critical moment of the race. The others will try to give everything to get positions at the start, so we need to be very careful. I just hope that we have a clean race, and then normally the result should be okay for us.
Okay for you, right? That sounds very modest. I'm looking forward to the race. Thank you very much, and best of luck, Dieter Gas. And back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, so there is René Rast. I mean, they've got a great chance of winning this race with all the Audis, or most of the Audis, parked up near the front of the grid. You've got the old BMW and Mercedes up near the front as well, but you have the likes of Marco Wittmann, the reigning champion, back on the 8th row of the grid. Paul de Resta's back there as well. Gary Paffett is only mid-grid. Gary is, as you can see, 3rd in the championship standings. So Mercedes arrive here in a strong position in terms of points, but this might be a little bit of on the back foot for them, a little bit of point salvation for them here at the Hungaro Ring. It's the 3rd event of the season. We've been to Hockenheim, we've been to the Lausitz Ring, we've had a few weeks off, and this is our first race outside of Germany before we go back to Germany for the streets of the Norris Ring, which I'm sure Jamie Green is looking forward to because he's having a huge amount of wins around that circuit. Now we can hear from Oli Fritz before the race gets underway, down on the grid again with Verena.
Yeah, we've only got another minute, but just quickly question. Best Mercedes-Benz in P9 and P11. So I guess, are you hoping that you have a really good strategy, or what are you going to do, and what are you struggling with?
I think that's the only thing we can hope for, to be honest. I mean, we are really far down the grid, and yeah, it's just damage limitation now for the race. We need to have a look where we can end up, but in the end, the strategy has to be to collect a few points and maybe try to get the BMWs behind us, because I think Audi is driving in another league today. We have to take that one and yeah, come back stronger tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much, Oli Fritz, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Last person on the grid almost as it begins to be clear. They can see Dieter Gas walking away. So they've got a chance of points. They've got Luca Sauer there on the 4th row starting 8th. You've got Gary Paffett starting 9th, just outside the top 10, fresh from his double podium finish at Lausitz Ring last time out. Starting 11th on the grid is Robert Wickens. And Verena there mentioned, and Oli Fritz mentioned tactics and pit stop strategies. And Lee, that's something they can really, the teams can make a big difference in the races this year with this new rule that you can pit whenever you like in the race. We saw some very, very unusual strategies in the first 2 rounds, with some drivers leaving it late, but you had other drivers like Matthias Ekstrom getting on the podium at the Lausitz Ring. He pitted at the end of the first lap of the race.
I think the curious thing now is obviously a lot of the focus for Mercedes maybe on Auer, maybe on Paffett, and maximising their potential in this race, but they're in a curious position because they're actually in the middle of the pack. It's not like you're in the front where you can maybe have a set strategy where you can go along, or if you're at the rear of the grid where you can pit early early and just running clear air. If you're actually in the middle of the grid, you're stuck in a kind of a strategic limbo, as it were. Because if you pit too early, you may not be so far behind the pack that you get completely clear air. If you actually stay in the pack, you could end up losing time because you're stuck in traffic the whole way. So they've got to play this very, very, very carefully, and it's going to be, their strategy is also going to be so much about what everyone else is doing around them.
55-minute plus 1 lap race. Had a very interesting chat with Gary Paffett, who's so insightful. I mean, you can tell he's a guy who's been around for a long time now, racing in DTM, the 2005 champion, multiple championship runner-up. And we talked about tyres, and we talked about the fact that you've got these different strategies. And he said, you know, I don't think at this circuit that you will necessarily get drivers who are able to pit very early and able to keep the tyre going until the end of the race, which is what ROCKENFELLER and Matthias Ekstrom have done in previous rounds. Now, that's not because there are lots of high-speed corners. It's not because there's even an abrasive surface, which there used to be at the Hungaroring, but it was resurfaced a couple of years ago. It's actually a very smooth ride now for them. But Gary was saying you've got a lot of thermal temperature building up because it is turn after turn after turn. It's almost like a big go-kart track, this. You've only got a couple of straights, so there is no time for the cooling of the tyre. It stays hot all the way around the lap. So the tyres we might see, drivers trying to do long runs on them, might start to go off a bit more in the races.
But it's not even just that it's turn after turn. It's actually the relatively slow or medium speed turns. There's no kind of really foot to the floor corners around here, as you can see on the track map at the moment.
Yeah, there you go. So headwind going into turn 1, and that is and it was like that all morning as well. And it's proven out by the fact in qualifying, I mean, the top speed of these cars should be 240 kilometres an hour. More than that when they put the DRS on. 232 kilometres an hour was Jamie Green's top speed, and he was the fastest. So they can see that the headwind really having an effect on them as they're going straight into turn 1. But as Matthias Ekstrom was saying, then you've got the wind behind you coming out of turn 1, and it's a steep downhill run into turn 2 as well. It's a corkscrew down out of the right-hander at turn 1, down into the left at turn 2. So it could be that the cars are moving around a lot more. It'd be very interesting to look to. There you see the busy grandstands. There you see how much the trees and the flags are blowing around in the background. And there you see René Rast, who's been a winner in every other category in which he's competed. He's a 3-time Porsche Super Cup champion. He's been a Nürburgring 24-hour winner. He's won other big 24-hour races at Spa, and he is a top driver. He's going to be hard to beat in this one, and he seems to be getting better and better as he goes through the season, and it's still only the third event of the year.
He's a bit of a silent assassin, really, isn't he? You know, he's maybe not a massive name, but he always does the job wherever he goes.
He's a good driver.
He's a real threat for today. Pole position, obviously, but he could win this.
Absolutely right. Then you have Jamie Green thinking about championship points, and you have somebody like Augusto Farfus, who just needs to get his season off the mark, having had a bit of a shocker so far. They're the championship leader, Lucas Auer, the young Austrian, whose uncle Gerhard Berger, the 10-time Grand Prix winner, is now working behind the scenes to promote DTM. Then René Rast in the Audi up to the righty picture, the dark car, with Jamie Green in the orange car on the front row. Red lights build up, 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. It is 55 minutes of action. It is round 5 of the DTM 2017. It's underway. René Rast makes a good start. So too does Jamie Green. Going with him, though, is Matthias Ekstrom. Mike ROCKENFELLER in the yellow and green machine making a good start as well. It's going to be 3 abreast going into the first turn here. Jamie Green trying to get the inside line. He's on the curbs. Trying to hang on around the outside is René Rast. Out wide goes Lucas Auer. 2 or 3 positions behind as he tries to make up places. They're all out of the first turn. Kicking up dust is Lucas Auer as he gets back on track. René Rast holds the inside line through turn 2. He's got the lead of the race. But what about Jamie Green? He's going to lose second place, I reckon, to Matthias Ekstrom. And a spin there, I'm afraid, for the 31 car of Tom Blomqvist. He gets going again quickly, but I reckon Jamie Green losing second place as they exited turn 2 because it was too wide going into it. Yes, so in fact, he might have dropped out of 4th place. He's there. He's just in front of ROCKENFELLER, so he lost 1, not 2. So it's René Rast leading the race. Up to second place for Matthias Ekstrom. Jamie Green into 3rd place. ROCKENFELLER and Farfus follow suit. Tom Blomqvist, the only one to have a moment on the first few corners, but it gathered it up pretty quickly. There's more wheel-to-wheel action just behind. And here's the onboard view now with Jamie Green. The middle sector of this lap. Corner flows into corner. You've got to get one right to get them all right as they take this sequence of 3rd and 4th gear corners around the second sector of the lap.
Fabulous start there by René Rast. Absolutely hung out despite Jamie Green going aggressively in the inside into turn 1. He absolutely nailed those first few corners. and we got an investigation for the incident involving Tom Blomqvist and Maxime Martin.
So 2 BMWs in dramas there, so that one's going to be looked at. So there was a bit of contact somewhere along the way.
A fabulous first lap there from René Rast. He's got a 3/4 of a second advantage over Matthias Ekström, who's got Jamie Green just 0.3 of a second behind him. It's not quite a comfortable cushion, but I think Eki is going to be watching Green in his mirrors as well, having fended him off in the first lap.
Lucas Auer, the championship leader, gained a place on the first lap. He's gone from 8th to 7th, and into the pits is Bruno Spengler. Now, this is somebody who's going to try and do a long run, so everybody has to make a pit stop. There's a mandatory pit stop, but you can come in when you like, and he is now going to try and run most of the 55-minute plus 1 lap race with this set of tyres. So, I mean, he's got to gamble, really. He's 17th on the grid. Bruno Spengler is having a really difficult couple of seasons in DTM, and he might as well try something like that, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a very, as you said, he's had a very, very difficult time the last couple of years. Since his championship, it's not always really come together for Bruno. So starting so far back on the grid, you know, hasn't really gained any positions on the first lap. Not much to lose, might as well go for it. Now, he will find in those final few laps of the race that it's going to be very difficult to keep those tyres alive. And if he does find himself further up the order, he'll find it difficult to actually maintain position, particularly concerning traction out of the final corner, which is critical, because that's where the out of the final corner going to start, finish straight and into turn 2. That's where any overtakes are going to be.
Now, we've got an incident between Blomqvist and Engel being investigated. So I wonder if that's the same incident with different drivers or there's been something else. But on board with Rob Wickens, there's a fantastic onboard shot now on the side of the Mercedes. This is coming into turn 14, second gear corner, 115 kilometres an hour, banging up through the gears. You got DRS as well if you're within a second of the driver in front. You can use that for 12 laps, up to 3 times the lap maximum, and that will get you above 240 kilometres an hour as Jamie Green gets closer and closer to the tail of Matthias Ekström in second place.
It's going back to the investigation between Blomqvist and Engel. I'm thinking possibly there was a mistake in the initial, because it's the swap for the 36 car. There's actually the 63 they're investigating.
That's right. Same numbers, other way around. That's right. Gary Paffett then, who is getting onto the tail of Loic Duval here. Gary has held station. He started 9th. He's running in 9th place. He was confident coming into this weekend. He's been here twice. This is only the 4th time the DTM has been to the Hungaroring. They came here back in 1988, had victories for Mercedes, for Johnny Cecotto, the ex-Formula 1 racer, and of course more famous for being Grand Prix motorcycle champion. Then they didn't come again until 2014, where just a single race, Marco Wittmann won. That year, Gary was saying, you know, I just had a bad car that year. It was a struggle. And then when they came last year, we had a heavy car with all the success weight that was on the Mercedes. So he said, well, I'm in a good zone. I feel happy with the car. It's good to see Gary back up there challenging for the championship title after a few barren years as well. And he says, I just feel more comfortable with the car now. In previous years, it's been on a bit of a knife edge. And it's been hard to get the best from it, but he feels that he's in a good place now. Let's see if he can work his way through. He's certainly been coming through well in the races so far.
Just as a note, we saw Bruno Spengler pit a few moments ago. Now he is in completely clear air. He's actually almost got 1/3 of a lap between him and Tom Blomqvist, who's the next guy further up. 30 seconds is the gap. Spengler just has to keep on consistently putting times in, whereas everyone else in front of him is in traffic. They're going to be struggling with dirty air. They're going to be struggling with traffic. They're not maybe going to be able to take the corners at the optimal speed, where Spengler can just do his laps, keep the times ticking over, keep the tyres alive for longer as well, because he's not under any pressure. It'll be interesting to see how this turns for him as the laps take over.
So the benefit is that, you know, if you're 17th on the grid, you pit early, you don't get stuck in the traffic. The disadvantage of that is that you never get a tow from anybody because you're not right behind somebody, and you don't get to use your DRS. That's the bad thing. The good thing is that at the end of the race, when he is in the pack, he's going to have loads of DRS options left, isn't he? He's going to have loads of presses of that button left. So it should be worth keeping an eye on Bruno. We'll see how he gets on. His lap time was a 1:38.3, which is comparable, really, with what everybody else is doing.
The guys, like, for example, the guys from, say, 12th downwards are all 1 second a lap slower. So he's gaining a little bit here and there. And you know, you're absolutely right. He's going to save those DRS for much later in the race.
Marco Wittmann's made up decent ground from the penultimate row of the grid. He was 15th on the grid. He's made up 3 spots, and the double champion in 12th place overall now. So we'll see how Marco gets on. He was the top BMW here in 2015 as well, outside the top 6 in the first race, but finishing in 7th place at 2016 rather. So René Rast, Matthias Ekstrom, Jamie Green, Mike Rockenfeller, they're in top 4. You can add Augusto Farfus into the mix as well. He's only scored 1 point so far this season, or 1 point scoring finish, got a couple of points for finishing in 9th place. So Augusto, who was one of the DTM drivers busy racing in the Nürburgring 24-hour race a couple of weeks ago, and got himself a decent result. He's there in 5th place, hanging on to this quartet of Audis. Then he got a little bit of a gap back to Nico Müller in 6th place.
What's interesting actually at the moment is we're now 4 laps into this race. René Rast, he's settled into a nice pace. He's not actually setting the world alight as we see replays of the start, and it is a very good start by René Rast. A little bit of a wheel spin, looked like he was going to bog down for a moment, but actually regained it very, very nicely. Because Eki actually initially had the better start, but was kind of blocked off by the Rast-Green duo coming into the first corner.
Another one that got off the line well was Robert Wickens, but he got sort of stuck behind Loic Duval and couldn't find a way through. They see Lucas Auer running out wide, the first of the bright pink Mercedes, and it was a tight squeeze in the middle of the pack, but they all safely made it through. Here's the onboard of the restart with Jamie Green from the front row of the grid. You just see René Rast to the left of your picture. Downhill now, ever so slightly into the first turn, then it really drops downhill as you go into turn 2. And these two were absolutely side by side. Then he had to go out wide to let René Rast through, and that is where he lost then on the exit. 2nd position to Matthias Ekstrom, and had to cover off the line to make sure that Mike Rockenfeller didn't come through as well. This is Blomqvist rubbing paintwork, and the 31 car.
Was that the incident?
With Robert Wickens, a contact there, yes. And it was actually Martin, wasn't it, with Blomqvist? Those are the two that came together in the initial.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, Martin just clipping Blomqvist. So there's obviously been 2 incidents with Maro Engel involved in the other one. He gathered it up very quickly, but of course that's put him to the back of the field now. Tom, who is one of the many race winners we have in the championship, and he was lucky not to get collected by anybody else, wasn't he?
I think one of the things we're going to have to watch out for as this race goes on, yes, you know, we are going to talk a little bit about strategy in the early stages of this race. We may not see the action unfold until the later laps as the tyres age, as we see there's a Lucas Auer and as Nico Müller is going around the outside of 2. He's going to try, but Müller hangs him out to dry around on the approach into 3.
That's a good effort, wasn't it?
Absolutely good effort, and very good driving by both drivers. Didn't cross over the line by any stretch of the imagination, but really raced hard and raced clean.
This left-hander, as they come up the hill into turn 4, that's 185 kilometres an hour in 5th gear. They'd had a 3rd gear, just 125 kilometres an hour, and this is where you got this sequence now. Turns 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 are all 3rd, 4th gear corners. Actually dropped down to 2nd through the chicane. Out of there, and then watch the curbs. And here are Nico Müller and Lucas Auer. Lucas started to come back at him already, running there in 7th place. Loic Duval is still ahead of Gary Paffett for 8th position. Rob Wickens is into the points. Paul de Resta has moved up from his grid into 11th position, trying to get himself into the points in the Mercedes. So we have Audis in 5 of the first 6 places at the moment. All of the Audis are in the points. They're all in the top 8.
One of the things I was just about to say before we saw Auer and Müller really go for it is the length of the pit stops in this race. So we're seeing pit stops, as you saw with Spengler, in around 8 seconds as 2 more.
And then Timo Glock is making his way into the pits.
But it's also about the length of time you're actually driving into the pits and then coming out. It's de Resta and Glock.
Yeah, the other one.
So you're actually looking at almost 27 to 29 seconds for a full pit stop. Entry, pit, and then out again.
Now they have far fewer crew this year as well, so gone are the sort of lightning less than 3-second pit stops that we were having. There's no refueling, there hasn't been for a few years. It's tyre changes, but they're still getting mighty quick, even with less crew allowed. Another change this year.
So, main problem is understeer, okay? Understeer.
Catch that, it's team radio, that's on board. Live team radio with Lucas Auer. Paul de Resta comes out just in front of Timo Glock. What about Bruno Spengler, who is on hotter tyres now? There's no tyre warmers as well, so they have to be very, very careful coming out of the pits on cold tyres. It might be slightly less dramatic than it was at the Lausitz ring because we had drivers, Timo Glock was one of them, who was slipping and sliding coming out of the pits. He actually went off on the grass, but they have to be very careful. It's easy to damage the tyre here because you've got to get on with it very quickly, else you're going to lose positions. Spengler splits them, but you don't want to damage the tyre early on. As you're getting it up to temperature.
He needs to do it now. He needs to do it quickly because he doesn't want to get trapped behind Rast in this sequence of slow speed kind of chicane-like corners. He needs to actually make the move quick.
Yeah, Timo Glock's lost a lot of time, actually. Not surprisingly, he's been a bit cautious coming out on these new tyres, which with no tyre heaters, very, very slippy. It's like being on ice at the Lausitz ring. He went off onto the grass. Paul de Rest was another one that had a moment at the Lausitz ring in one of the races, coming out of the pits as he slid into another car. But Bruno Spengler trying to catch up, but failing at the moment. Lucas Auer, who is one of the drivers that talks quite a lot back and forth on the radio to his drivers. Some drivers keep it to a minimum, but Lucas is always wanting to know what's going on with the car, both in qualifying and in the races. So there you can see of the pit stoppers, Di Resta is the best place, looking for some points here. Spengler falling back away from him now as they come out of turn 13.
I think that's one of the interesting things why it hasn't really worked for Spengler so far is he's come out of the pits out of his early stop and his pace hasn't been amazing. It's been mid 1 minute 38s, and to really make that strategy work you probably need to be doing early 38s, late 37s.
Look at that shot of the race leader, tracking shot there of René Rast in slow-mo.
Who's now built a gap of 1.1 seconds to Eki, so he's out of DRS range of the second place man.
Yellow flag in turn 3, it says on the screen, so we'll see if we've had a drama.
Yeah, someone's gone off as a green. Oh, and that is
Maxime Martin stopped on the screen, yeah, with damage to the front left corner, as you can see. The car stopped on the road.
Is that going to be a safety car, do you think?
Copy, Max.
There's damage to the front. Well, either way.
Some of the conversation with the marshals at the moment. He's obviously radiated into the team. We got the response. We didn't get the initial activity. DRS disabled now in this period. So, yeah, safety car is going to come out. So the incident's happened here. Now, whether that's damaged with another car or his run wide.
Okay, there's a safety car.
So, telling that Maxime Martin had the safety car, so he knows not to panic. With fast cars coming around, so the marshals can do their job. They're the safety car waiting. The leader's just gone past the commentary box, which is overlooking the start finish, overlooking the pits, and will pick up now René Rast. So his 1 second lead is going to evaporate.
So this is interesting, Dave. Will we now see a raft of pit stops and drivers looking to take advantage of the safety car?
So they're going to move this Maxime Martin BMW. Maxime has been one of the consistent finishers, hasn't he, over his seasons in DTM. He's one of the drivers that picks up points as into the pits now. They start to come, or at least one of them making his way into the pits.
Spengler again.
Bruno Spengler, right, okay. This wasn't in the plan, was it? So is there an issue with the car for Bruno? Or is he going to try something different here and go for another set of tyres? Because he's not really going to... He's going to lose one place. He's going to drop behind Timo Glock. He's not going to lose any more. And he's going to have better tyres on into the pits. Long run, isn't it, when you stick to the pit lane speed limit? So, out they come. Yeah, and they're changing the tyres. You can see less crew working on the cars now. That's 2 at a time. Wheel gun. So, it takes a lot longer, but it's still very, very quick, impressive stops. That's actually a good tactic, that, isn't it? Because, yeah, he's going to give a place away, but he's going to have much fresher tyres now to take him to the end of the race.
Of course, one of the things we may not find out until after the race was there an issue with that set of tyres? Because, as I mentioned a few months ago, the pace didn't seem to be there after his first pit stop. So I wonder maybe it could even just be a tyre pressure issue, or maybe a slow puncture or something like that. We'll only...
He's used one of his 8... You get 8 sets to use throughout the weekend as well, so he's got to be mindful of the fact he's got another qualifying session, another race to come. And there was the incident with Blomqvist, so that was why the damage to the front corner. So is it as a result of that, some damage underneath the skin of the car that's caused it to stop?
That's unusual. That would be very unusual. I'd assume it would be, unless he's damaged his suspension or the wheel rim, but even then I would have expected him to finish.
Well, there's no fluid coming out of the car either from the radiator or anything like that, is there? Or oil pipe, so...
But it'd be unusual for him to carry on for as many laps as he did with any kind of suspension or wheel damage to that degree. So it's unusual. And again, unfortunately, we may only find out after the race finishes, or unless Verena catches up with Maxime in the pit lanes during the race.
This is great news if you're Paul de Rest or Timo Glock, because you've got your tyre stop out of the way. I mean, they weren't particularly high up the grid anyway. They are Paul's in 15th, Timo's in 16th place, and now, of course, the pack is just in front of them. The pack is no longer 35 seconds up the road. So this really does bring them into the equation. Paul had made a good start anyway. and if everybody else pits now, of course there might be safety cars later in the race, but as it stands, it really has benefited those who pit early. So that's another good reason to get your pit stop out of the way early if you're confident the tyres can last the duration.
But this is why I don't really understand why no one's actually jumped into the pits, to be honest, because it's 39 minutes now to the end of the race, but they've missed that window of opportunity to actually jump into the pits, make the stop, get it out of the way before the field had actually caught up to the safety car. Now that the field is behind the safety car and doing the much slower lap times are in the 220s, that opportunity is gone because any stop they make will just drop them behind Glock and the rest of it.
Yeah, and there's the Maxime Martin car being pulled off, BMW. Of course, it's BMWs that have benefited from this, isn't it? One Mercedes, granted, the pulled the rest of the car, but Timo Glock, Bruno Spengler. It's been good for them. Unsporting behaviour, car 36, Maxime Martin. Now that is under investigation, so whether that relates to the earlier incident, which was already being investigated, or unsporting behaviour relates to why the car has stopped out on the circuit. So we're going to get the race back underway in terms of up to speed very shortly. There's still 37 3/4 minutes left on the clock. The top 4 or 5 were all fairly bunched together anyway. René Rast had got a bit of a lead. Now look at Matthias Ekström here. Wily old devil that he is, hanging on to the tail. He's the most experienced driver in the field in DTM. He's had 182 races under his belt. Look how very much alongside René Rast he is.
And of course, the safety car restarts now. They have to be side by side and 2 by 2. It's very much the kind of NASCAR, IndyCar style restarts.
You can see him nudging ahead though, can't you? Just almost waving to René Rast. So I'm here. I'm going to give you a run for your money when we get this race underway. So he is making sure he's as alongside as he possibly can be here, and Matthias Ekström knows this is a chance to go for the lead of the race. So 2 by 2 formation. This is something that caught Jamie Green out at Hockenheim. He got a penalty for this on the restart, but
still won.
Still won the race, yes, because he was so far in front. Okay, here we go. Then 2 by 2 restart, and Matthias Ekström, can he challenge? He's got as alongside as he possibly can, and you got Jamie Green as well looking for the inside line, trying to defend as well at the same time for ROCKENFELLER. Ekström around the outside, it worked. He's got into the lead of the race all the way around the outside. Loic de Val goes out wide, and then Matara goes out wide, but they all survive. So Eki into the lead of the race. Rast second, third, just about is Green.
Oh, and it's an incident.
Around. Lucas Auer, the championship leader around. Farfus is the other car pointing in the wrong direction. Others take evasive action to get out of the mix, including Nico Muller, who's lost a shed load of places and bits of his bodywork as well.
Those guys are so stupid. They completely broke my car.
Lucas Auer saying that was a stupid incident, that was not my fault, as he gets on the team radio. He's conscious of the fact that the race control will be listening to that conversation as well, so he's making a point with that.
Paraphrasing.
Yes, yeah, we got the gist.
Oh, and there's another incident there as they come into the chicane. There's 2 cars going side by side. Now,
Marco Wittmann was one of them, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and he's trying to make up space as well. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the marshals can get that car cleared as soon as possible, or whether Auer is still actually going on track.
This was great from Matthias Ekström. You knew from the body language he was just gunning it, but Rast went across, but he was fair and he gave room to Ekström.
But I think the massive issue there is Rast was far too circumspect going into the first corner. I think he actually gave Ekström too much.
Right, there was I reckon it was Loic de Val had a lock-up. Now, whether that was something to do with it, and there was a concertina effect, Muller got pushed, and then Auer, I think, was kind of innocent and all that. There is the lock-up, huge lock-up. And then already out of control is Augusto Farfus.
I actually wonder if that's
Lucas Auer was kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time there, wasn't he? Yeah, he got a big hit there. I think it was actually Muller that clipped him. There was the spinning car of Farfus, but I think it was the Muller car looking at that angle that clipped him. Head in hands for everybody involved. There's Daniel Cadea, who's involved in testing and development work now for Mercedes. The ex-DTM race, the Spaniard. Head in hands for everybody involved in that. All 3 marks having a car, and under investigation, Duval, Muller and Auer as a result of the incident. But that is the championship leader out, and Lucas Auer, for the first time this season, he's not going to score points because he's had 2 wins. He's been in the points 4 times out of 4 so far, but not in this one now.
And the thing that's probably going to pain Mercedes even more is Paffett was P9 going into that first lap. 3 cars have actually been effectively eliminated in front of him. He's still P9 because in the melee, he actually lost another 3 positions.
It's a bit annoying, that, isn't it? He had forwards 3, backwards 3, and stays up where he is. Is there any damage to the Loic de Val car as well, which is another question. DRS enabled now that we've had a lap under our belts from the restart. And the best news of all, isn't it, for Jamie Green, because as you say, the driver third in the championship, Gary Paffett, hasn't really benefited from that. Lucas Auer's not going to score any points, and he's 14 points behind. And at the moment, if he finishes where he is in third place, Jamie Green is going to pick up 15 points. So he's going to do it by 1 point. He's going to move into the championship lead.
Anyway.
Right, catch your breath. Yeah, that's what happens though, isn't it? When drivers get bunched up like that in safety car periods, you know, drivers see it, quite rightly, as an opportunity, and, you know, they go on the attack. We got one running way out wide there, coming out of turn 14 with a very slow...
we got Wittmann in the pit lane as well.
Wittmann's coming to the pits, that's right. Now, in front of us comes
WICKENS.
car. It's Robert WICKENS, the Mercedes, just limping across the... start-finish line right in front of the commentary box. There was smoke coming from the back of it, and of course he's got to do a whole lap now before he can get back to the pits, Robert WICKENS. So
I wonder actually
disaster.
if he's just trying to find somewhere to park, because obviously on the start and finish straight, you can't really park it there. It'll bring out another safety car. Sluggish stop for Wittmann, 10.5. When the others are doing 7-point-somethings or 8s, you cannot lose 3 seconds in the pit stop.
And of course, Marco Wittmann has got no chance of coming out in front of the others that are pitted, like De Resta and Glock, because the safety car bunched them all up. So he just pulled off, so he knew he got a problem. Is there a puncture there?
There's a puncture.
Front left looks low, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Looks low at the front left, yeah. So that is the problem. That's why the smoke was coming.
Just the tyre rubbing against the bodywork.
Car as well, yeah. Now, what caused that is the next question. And here's a replay. And just behind it was
Are we going to see
Tom Blomqvist with losing position there. And that was to Farfus, wasn't it? So Tom Blomqvist, I was about to say it's good news for him because he had the spin on lap 1 and has caught them all up again now. But there he is losing positions. I think it was Wittmann actually getting past him in the other BMW.
Who is now 11th behind 10th place, Spengler.
Before he came into the pits, that was, though. So De Resta, still the best of the pit stoppers. He's in 8th place now, and he's got his pit stop out of the way here. So suddenly Mercedes coming to the fray as Gary Paffett comes in now with the onboard camera. So Audi 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, but Mercedes are 6th. Mortara, Paffett was into the top 10 as well. And De Resta now is going to move up to 7th place. Glock is going to move up to 8th. Spengler 9th. And they've all had their pit stop and got it out of the way. You've also got Augusto Farfus coming into the pits as well. Gary Paffett now up on the jacks. Tyres being changed. Stankook tyres. Farfus about to come in. It's a nice clear pit lane as well.
It's a good stop for Paffett, 7.7.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Anything sub 8 is very good, isn't it?
And one of the key things for De Resta is, as you said, he's got his pit stop out of the way. He's only 5 seconds behind the race leader, so he's actually got a lot to play with. Farfus sluggish, 9.2. We got a
yellow flag at turn 9, and according to the screen, car 6 has stopped about there, which is Robert WICKENS. So he made it halfway back, but the car has stopped out on track. Green flag now, though, because the marshals have obviously moved it out of the way. Or it's got going gear, one or the other. But Robert WICKENS is out of harm's way and just about to make their way through turn 7, turn 8, coming up to that, where that incident was, or the lead group, halfway around the lap. So this is really working in the favour of those that pitted early with the safety car. Of course, if there's another safety car, you can guarantee they'll all come in. But you're right, Lee, it is a surprise that others didn't come in during that safety car period, because if you pit after the safety car, you're always going to lose out to the others, aren't you?
The thing is now, the only way Eki, Rast, Green, etc. can make this work is if they stay out and actually try and build a gap, to De Resta. And I really think they've actually they've missed the trick here by keeping their cars out on track when the safety car was. They could have just got that out of the way, maintained the front, or at least maybe dropped into the back of under the safety car. But here, they got to stay out on wearing tyres, trying to build a gap when the person that they're trying to get away from has relatively fresh tyres as well.
Yeah.
I think they really have missed the trick.
And it'd be interesting to see what Spengler's pace is like now compared to De Resta and Glock, because he's had a second set of tyres on, hasn't he, and changed them as well. So Muller comes into the pits. Lucas Auer, recovering from that spin, comes into the pits. He badly needs a safety car now. He pits from 13th place. Muller pits from 12th position. So there he is. There's the Audi of Nico Muller, the Swiss driver, in the 51 car. Lucas Auer might just get ahead of him here. Nearly, not quite. It's going to be close, so good to work by both pit crews there. But it is Nico Muller in the Team Abt car that comes out, stays out just ahead of the championship leader, Lucas Auer, in the number 22 car.
And they both have emerged just behind Wittmann as well.
But in front of Farfus, yeah.
Farfus is probably going to be able to take Auer easily on, like, he's got warmer tyres. Auer is straight out of the pits with cold tyres. Will Farfus be able to take Muller as well?
So it's nowhere near as dramatic as when they were coming out of the pits at Lausitz Ring. They seem a lot more under control, or maybe the drivers aren't just
are just not pushing quite as hard. But there's none of the slipping and sliding around. You can see the tyres aren't up to temperature, but it was really, really noticeable at the Lausitz ring. They were losing huge amounts of time for the first few corners as they came out. So Matthias Ekstrom is your race leader by half a second from the former race leader René Rast, having got past him on the restart. Green flag in turns 9 and 10 now in sector 2 to show that track is clear. Jamie Green's 1.2 seconds off the lead in 3rd place. Mark Rockenfeller is in 4th position. 5th place is Loic Duval going really well. Edo Mortara worth a mention as well because he's struggled so far. Been at the back of the free practice sessions and he's into the top 6. Half transmission from Matthias Ekstrom, and Mortara's coming to the pits now. He's directly opposite the comms box window, so we can see the team working on the car in front of our box and on the screen as well. This looks good. 8 seconds, not the best, but it's pretty good. And 8 seconds, Mortara then looking to get some points. He has so far, his best result out of Mortara has been a 4th place finish at Hockenheim. He got a 7th at Lausitz ring, but he's only picked up points in 2 of the races. And talking to him yesterday, having of course switched from Audi to Mercedes, he was the runner-up in last year's championship. He says it's just taken a bit longer than he would have liked to get the best from it, but he's on cold tyres, so he's going to lose out here. And through will come Gary Paffett. Nothing you can do. Best to let the driver go. In fact, Gary Paffett was saying that's exactly what I did at the Lausitz ring. There is no point trying to fight drivers when you're on cold tyres. All you're going to do is ruin your tyres and risk an accident. Just get them back a lap later when your tyres are up to speed and you've got fresher slicks on.
Be interesting to see now the game that Rast, Glock and Spengler play. Will they actually spend the next part of the race attacking each other, taking life out of the tyres, taking life out of the car, or will they actually just play the pace game for a while? Wait for all the others in front of them to pit so they can actually gain the lead and then engage in a battle for the lead of the race? Because if they start fighting each other now,
he's in and Rockenfeller's in. 2 of the top 4 coming into the pits. So the leader in, Rockenfeller in as well. Sorry, Lee.
I think if the rest of Glock and Spengler start fighting each other now, they may actually take too much out of the tyres for them to be useful come the end of the race. I think they need to pace themselves.
They need to work as a team, don't they, the 4 Audis, and like you say, not push each other too much. BMW of Tom Blomqvist coming into the pits as well in the background. Right, anything less than 8 seconds is very, very good. Mike Rockenfeller was only a couple of seconds behind Ekstrom for 4th place as well, so he gets out in front and he manages to squeeze out. That's okay, I think, just about. Blomqvist coming in and staying out clear. And obviously no damage to Blomqvist's car. The gap looks about the same. Maybe Mike Rockenfeller slightly closer. It's all about now what the drivers can do on the cold tyres, isn't it? And here comes Gary Paffett, one to keep an eye on as well. And the number 2 Mercedes staying out longer. Blomqvist is going to come out maybe just in front of Augusto Farfus. Not quite. It's going to be tight. Farfus with more heat in the tyres goes around the outside. Lucas Auer is coming back at him as well now. And Blomqvist has to sit patient. That's the 3rd time he's got very close to Lucas Auer, isn't it, in this race?
And the incredibly difficult thing about what Blomqvist has just done there, he's come out in ice-cold tyres. We saw it at Lausitz ring when Di Resta came out in cold tyres, had absolutely no control, and I think he went into the side of Maxime Martin. He got a penalty for it, but he really had no control of the car because the tyres were so cold, he had no grip and just slid on, and Blomqvist so nearly did the same there. He had to absolutely crawl through turn 1 just to not hit Auer.
So there then is Gary Paffett. Now he's made his pit stop and he's got the tyres up to temperature. And he's in a good position here. He's not that far behind Mark Rockenfeller. So at the moment, René Rast is the leader with 25 minutes to go. Jamie Green is 2nd. Loic Duval, who's looking for his first points in DTM, is 3rd. But he's just coming to the pits, I think. And they haven't made their pit stops. Here is Loic Duval. So Paul Di Resta, who is the first of the pit stoppers, is 3rd now. Timo Glock will move up to 4th place. Bruno Spengler will move up to 5th position. They have all made their pit stops. 6th place, you've got Maro Engel, who's not yet made his pit stop. So Loic Duval coming in here. Where is he going to come out in the mix? Over the line comes Ekstrom, over the line comes Rockenfeller. I think he's probably going to come out behind Gary Paffett somewhere, isn't he?
And the key thing is Di Resta, who made his pit stop before the safety car. He's 6.1 seconds behind Rast. That doesn't really matter at this stage. The important thing is Di Resta is actually 24.2 seconds ahead of Ekstrom. And they're, Di Resta, Glock, Spengler, they have that 20-something gap over the rest of the field.
Golden opportunity for a Mercedes win and a Paul Di Resta win here. They've played it absolutely right, haven't they? Because he made the pit stop early, and then everybody else had got away from him, but that gap was nullified with the safety car, and nobody else came in during that safety car period. They all pitted afterwards. He's already on their tail. They all pit, and suddenly he's miles clear.
Absolutely. I mean, Mercedes probably pitted. The rest are thinking, well, this early pit stop might get us a point. It might get us 2 if we're absolutely lucky. Now they're actually going, oh, crap, this could get us the win.
Yeah, absolutely right. And potentially a good result, maybe a podium for Timo Glock. And what about Bruno Spengler as well? I mean, at the moment, it stands to get up onto the podium here, and he's got the fresher tyres of anybody, so this has worked well for Mercedes and for BMW, and this will be daylight robbery for them, won't it? If they can get podiums here when Audi had locked out the first 2 rows of the grid, it's going to be a real win-win for them. So good, just shows how strategy can play a massive part in the race here. So everybody else is going to be praying for a safety car now. I mean, your best bet really, Lee, if you're René, Rast or Jamie Green, is to stay out as long as possible now and hope there's another safety car and then pit during that safety car, really, so you don't lose too much ground to the others.
The unfortunate aspect of that strategy, in a sense, Chris, is you are now having to rely on outside circumstances to turn your race around.
I mean, if there's a safety car, they'll still be in the back, but at least everybody will be bunched up. So, I mean, either way, they're going to lose out.
Yeah, but they're now having to rely on mistakes by other people as the control of the situation has now been removed from their hands. There's nothing that they can do to actually win this race.
Well, like you say, all they can do is try and build up as much gap as they can and then pit. So either way, I think they're going to pit really, really late in the race. But you could build up a massive gap, and then the safety car comes out. So they're always damned if they do and damned if they don't here.
I think the only positive going for the likes of Rast and lesser degree Green at the moment is Rast is doing lap times in the 38.2s. So he's actually got a 29.5 second gap over 7th place Ekstrom. If he can continue to build that gap out, maybe get it to 33 seconds, that gives him a window to come into the pits, change tyres, do the pit lane speed, but also lose the time that you will lose the time on the first lap out when your tyres are cold. He will need, I'm guessing, 33 seconds to be safe. He's got 29. I
think that's probably their best bet, isn't it, really? I mean, it's going to be a safety car to help them. It needs to be now, so that they're still bunched up, and then we'll have to attack. They'll have enough time left in the race to attack. But any point in the next 5 minutes, once they get past that, they absolutely need there not to be a safety car, because their only chance will be to build up a big gap. If a safety car comes out in the last 15 minutes, they got no chance of getting back through the pack in time before the end of the race. So they've got to just crack on now. I mean, you could well conceivably see them pitting right at the end of the race, these two.
And I'm not entirely certain that even that strategy will work, because Eki in 7th place has actually got a 17-second gap in front of him to Engel. So Eki's in clear air. He's now into the 37s, just setting the fastest laps.
Bruno Spengler also going well. He's a couple of tenths quicker than Timo Glock, so he's catching him up here. He's used more of his DRS laps. Oh, that's part of the reason why Timo Glock running out wide. They both run out wide there. Spengler pushing on, but just
Glock
a bit of
clattered the actual board at the on the runoff part of the circuit.
Car stronger than the board, so I think it'll be okay, but it won't help things, will it?
I think you've got to be careful, because you don't want those little bits actually getting into the car. And possibly having debris rolling around, and possibly creating other issues.
That's right.
But the rest right now, he's just rolling the laps off, late 38s, early 39s, just doing what he needs to do. He's in such a sweet position at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll see as we get into the last bit of the race as well, how much those tyres might drop off. René Rast comes in. Jamie Green is coming to the pits, so didn't expect that at all. I thought he'd push it to the end of the race. So Jamie comes in. He's going to lose a ton of places, of course.
But I think Green was actually dropping pace there compared to Rast.
He was about 3 seconds behind Rast, wasn't he, as he came in?
I think he was losing half a second, 4/10 of a second a lap. I think it's probably his tyres were going. This may be the only sensible situation.
You've got the pack about to come out of turn 14 over the start-finish line now. Here they come, and here comes Jamie Green. How many places is he going to lose? So there's Eki, there's ROCKENFELLER. Gary Paffett's going to get through, no problem at all.
Mortara, maybe?
Mortara should do, shouldn't he, on the way out of the corner with tyres up to temperature.
And we said earlier on, look at Auer not scoring any points today. Look at Gary Paffett down in 8th place. He's only going to score four points as it is at the moment. And we thought this is going to be a big win for Green.
Mortara is going to surely carry the speed with the extra grip. No, Jamie Green's hanging on here. This is a good effort from Jamie to keep the Italian behind him. And now, of course, his tyres will come up to temperature. So they come up the hill now, up towards turn 4. Mortara not happy about this, not happy at all, but Green's got to defend his line here, and he's done it for the time being, but Mortara coming out of turn 4 into turn 5 will close the gap once more, but once they get to turn 5, it's very hard to pass through sector 2, isn't it?
No, Edo, it's racing. And
and
it's a bit of return there from Edo Mortara.
Absolutely right. And
but it's cost him, actually, I think.
Yeah, as into the mix then comes the BMW of Marco Wittmann, and he'll get through as well. And Loic Deval is going to get close to the tail of them.
I wonder if Edo has actually done any damage to him, to his own car. He actually went in
straight away. That he's been investigated. Look on the screen.
He went in quite hard. Rast
in. Right. Okay. Where can he come out? Well, that was strong defensive driving from Green, then a strong attack from Mortara. No loss between the pair of those.
And with Rast pitting, De Resta leads, Glock second, Spengler third.
8.4 seconds, that's not mega. Ekstrom and Rockenfeller go over the line now. Where is Rast going to come out in the mix? Rockenfeller's having a go as well. And Ekstrom on the way into turn 1. He's got the DRS, he's down the inside. He's glued to the inside curb. He runs out wide, but he'll have the inside line for the left-hander at turn 2. That doesn't normally stop Matthias Ekstrom, the former double champion, from having a go. Two great champions going wheel to wheel here. Mike Rockenfeller fends him off on the way through turn 2. He'll cover the line into the right-hander at turn 3, and he's got the position. But of course, Paul De Resta is your race leader because of that early pit stop. Timo Glock is second. Bruno Spengler is third. Maro Engel is fourth, but he hasn't yet been into the pits. So Mike Rockenfeller is now the next best, effectively. He's fifth. He should move up to fourth place once Maro Engel makes his pit stop. Hideki just behind, and then Rast has come out behind a lot of them now. He's in 7th place.
And as I said earlier on, Dave, as we see Paffett and that is Rast.
Yeah, 7th and 8th here, with Rast again getting his tyres up to temperature.
It's worked out so badly for René Rast for getting pole slow in such a brilliant lap and leading the race so well. That strategy really has gone against him. As I said earlier on, when the safety car came out, they needed to pit then. By leaving them out, all they've done is actually left their drivers to fall back into the pack.
I'm going to throw another scenario at you now. All right, what if there's another safety car and they've all got really nice fresh tyres and the pack is just in front of them, and you are a Timo Glock or a Paul Di Resta with very old tyres on? That could be a possible way out of this. But as you say, you're relying on outside forces now. So Di Resta and Mercedes lead. BMWs are second and third, Timo Glock and Bruno Spengler. And then it's Maro Engel yet to pit. He's the only one of the remaining runners that haven't pitted now. We've got 16 cars left on the track. And then Rockenfeller with that move on Ekstrom in 5th place. Mike's having a really, really strong season, isn't he, Mike Rockenfeller? He's been so far, he's been one of the master tacticians as well in terms of making the right pit stops at the right times in the races. Here's a replay then of this incident. Shoulders out, that wasn't it? Elbows out, get out of the way, says Mortara, and it wasn't without contact that. He was not best pleased with Jamie Green for his strong defending earlier on, but then look at the Marco Wittmann car just behind, which benefited from all of that.
See, I think the Green-Mortara incident coming through turn 2 was actually fine because they were going side by side through the corner. It was a light touch of the doors. That from Mortara was probably a little bit close to the line, if not over, because he's actually shoved his Mercedes.
And he lost more time as he tried to defend from the BMW of Marco Wittmann.
That was kind of that was a little bit of uncontrolled driving there for Edo Mortara. He didn't need to go in such an aggressive manner, and it's actually ended up costing him position as opposed to gaining a place.
So I mean, here are the two with older tyres on then, especially Timo Glock. You see how they run out wide coming out of turn 13. That's where Nigel Mansell made that great pass as a Ferrari driver on it, and Senna back in the eras of the early 1990s in Formula 1 racing, using a back marker to get through. And now you're going to see what René Rast can do against those two on fresher tyres. He's not far behind them, Rast. He's going to try and make up a bit of time on them. So there's Glock, there is Spengler. And the gap coming down all the time between them. There is Mike Rockenfeller, who's pulling away now from Matthias Ekstrom, isn't he? By quite some distance, actually.
I think the gap for Rast may just be too far from Engel. I think this is going to be a three-way fight. But as I said earlier on, I think it's going to be a case of have De Resta, Glock, Spengler made their tyres work. As we see, this is Green going past Paffett into turn 1.
Fending him off, yeah.
For P8 and P9.
Yeah, those two switching back around. So Jamie Green briefly behind Gary Paffett. The two British drivers switch around again. And these two are gunning for the championship title this year as well. And both trying to capitalise upon the fact that their closest rival in the championship is 15th, Lucas Auer, and out of the points.
Now, De Resta, Glock, Spengler. have they made their tire? Have they kept their tires in safe condition? When they were driving through the field, did they actually push their tires too far, or did they keep a sensible pace and actually keep life in their tire to bring them to the end? Because if that's the case, we're going to see a fight in our hands now for the win.
Well, absolutely. So Mike ROCKENFELLER is the quickest man out there. Mike in 5th place is just done a 1:37.1. The leader, Di Resta, 1:39.3. So the gap's down to just under 16 seconds, 15.8 seconds. He's taken 2 seconds a lap out of him. He's still got a chance here, Mike ROCKENFELLER. That was why he was desperate to get past Eki and looking for his first win of the season, his 5th career DTM victory. But there's a long way to go yet.
What I will say is Di Resta has been doing solidly late 38s to maybe early 39s for quite a while now. I think he's just pacing it. He's been just pacing it really, really, really well. And it'll be interesting to see what Rocky can do when he eventually does come up to the back of the field. And the thing for Rocky is, well, he still has Engel in front of him, who hasn't pitted yet, and he has Spengler and Glock to get past before he even gets close to the rest of us. So.
And Engel's times is the only one out there who's on the same set of tyres with which he started the race. Engel in 4th place, 1:39.3.
Yeah, it's losing a second and a half from that particular.
It's not horrendous though, is it? So I mean, he's just going to try and drag this out as long as he can.
But how long can Rocky hold that pace? How long can Rocky actually constantly knock in the 37s?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it was 13 minutes left in this race, so that's possibly 10 laps.
Well, he took more time, but it wasn't quite as impressive on the last lap. So the previous lap, he took more than 2 seconds out of the race leader. That time, he took less than a second and a half. Still a lot, but 14.5 seconds is now the gap between them. There's your race leader then, Paul Di Resta, and he's got a 1.2 second lead over Timo Glock. Bruno Spengler, he's got slightly newer tyres on, having had 2 pit stops, he's there in 3rd, and this will be a very, very good result, and will put a smile on the face of Bruno if he can convert this. So there you see the graphic on the screen. Pit stop 8 seconds for Paul Di Resta. Mike ROCKENFELLER helped by a really good pit stop, 6.8 seconds. That was a mega pit stop from Team Phoenix, wasn't it?
It was a mega pit stop. The only problem is he was actually slow getting out of the box.
Yeah.
I think he lost a second getting out of the box because it was a fairly busy pit lane at the time. But here's Rocky now coming to complete his 25th lap. It's dropped into the 1:38.3. So I don't think Rocky can hold that pace of the 37s for too long. He's already down in the 38s. So I think while he's still going to be gaining time on Di Resta and Glock and Spengler, it's actually evening out now to the point where he'll still catch them, but maybe nowhere near the rate that he needs to actually take positions off them.
Paul Di Resta looking for his first win since the first round of 2016 at Hockenheim. Can he hang on to this? He's certainly, he's keeping the other two with similar tyres behind him, isn't he? Similar level of tyres. Maro Engel comes into the pits now then from 4th place, but he's certainly got Glock under control. He's got Spengler under control. It's Rocky is the one he's got to watch. What does Rocky do on that lap? So your times are going off a bit now, aren't they? 1:38.3. Whereas Di Resta's up the ante, 1:38.8. I think the Scotsman, as you say, has managed the tyres well here. He's got a bit more pace if he needs it. And so that time, Rocky in 5th only takes half a second out as Tom Blomqvist is headed for the garage and I'm afraid retirement.
Calls it a day. He's had a horrible race, unfortunately, for Tom. And he had a difficult time in Lausitzring as well.
Yes, he did. That BMW, though, going pretty well into the points now for Marco Wittmann. He does do a good job, doesn't he, of Marco, of picking up results where the team are on a back foot. He'll drag something out of it, he'll drag a few points out of it, and that has really helped him to his 2 championship titles so far.
One thing I mentioned to you earlier on during the Formula 3 race this morning, Chris, and I think it's just as important here, is championships are not necessarily won by the races you win. They're actually won by the races where you're actually off the pace or you have incidents, and how much you can actually maximize those races. So if we consider today that Gary Paffett and Jamie Green are actually having an off day, that 8th and 9th, and it doesn't look too impressive, well, you know what? Lucas Ara's also had an off day. He's not going to score, whereas at least Green and Paffett are going to bag some points for the championship. So it's these races where you lose out, but you can still maximise the small amount that you do have. That's where you win.
Yeah, Jamie Green at the moment is going to pick up 3 points for 8th place. He already picked up 2 points from qualifying, so not the greatest day, but I look at it and say, well, I closed the gap to Lucas Ara by 5 points. I've closed the gap. that's what I say. But as a racing driver, he'll go, we could have been on the podium in this race. Incidentally, Bruno Spengler has used up all of his DRSs now. He's used them pretty early on in the race because he was tucked up behind Timo Glock. So he's got no DRS activations left now. It's slightly changed it this year. You get it's based on laps now. It doesn't change per circuit, so you get to use it for a maximum of 12 laps. You choose when you do it, but as soon as you activate it, you get up to 3 options to press it on that lap, the DRS, to give yourself this extra boost in a straight line. However, even if you only use it once or twice on that lap, you still lose 3 of your pushes. So you get 3 times 12, you get 36 pushes, but you don't necessarily get to use all of them.
And we also know that René Rast actually has 11 DRS uses left. But it's about management as well, because Rast has all those DRSs, but he's actually 3.1 seconds behind Ekstrom in 6th place. So he can't even use them anyway. So he's left with that bank of DRS.
And then they've got to overtake. So, you know, we're talking about the gap from ROCKENFELLER to the leader, but he's 5th. You know, he's got the small, well, he's 4th with Zengel. He's falling back down the order. So he is going to then have to get past these other drivers, isn't he? And he's going to lose time there. So there is Paul de Resta. In fact, Engel has still come out, hasn't he, in 4th place. There is de Resta. There is Glock in 2nd, who, to me, looks to be edging away now from Bruno Spengler. And a very disappointing day, I'm afraid, for Tom Blomqvist. Vereena's caught up with him. Verena.
Yeah, Tom Blomqvist obviously very disappointed. There was an incident with you and Maxime Martin, and then after that, it just went downhill from there. Talk us through the race from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, the start wasn't great, but I think I maybe lost 1 position in turn 1. And then I had only 1 option, but try the outside at turn 2, but I don't know, I got a big hit from the rear left corner, and then it spun me around, and it damaged the car quite badly, so it was just pointless to keep driving. I mean, I had no pace after that, so yeah, pretty disappointing. I mean, it's been the story of my season so far, so it's not a huge surprise, but you know, we need to turn things around sooner rather than later. Tomorrow's
a new day, so thank you very much, Tom Blomqvist, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, very disappointed, dejected Tom Blomqvist there, who is was a race winner in DTM, had a pretty good season last year. He's got 2 points in the championship. That's been from qualifying. He hasn't actually been in the top 10 in any of the races so far, but these runs of bad luck tend to come in groups, and then you finally get over it and then get a good run together. Hopefully that'll be the case, and Tom will come back. He's a top driver, Tom. So, yeah, Maro Engel, that late pit stop worked for him. So you see these different tactics, early pit stop, late pit stop, he can work really well for you. And Maro Engel, who's been, you know, he really has come back to the DTM, having had half a decade away, been sports car racing. He had that fantastic drive to get a last lap victory at the 2016 Nürburgring 24 hours, which really got him back in the spotlight. And Maro has come back a much stronger driver. He's been consistently banking points, and he stayed out. He's managed to make the tyre last pretty well. Now he's changed. He's got a good tyre, and he's still in 4th place. And his lap times, well, he ought to be able to close the gap, you think, but Lee pointing to the screen saying, actually, he's not really closing up the gap. So, de Resta, Glock, Spengler, Maro Engel, can he be a rear gunner for Paul de Resta? Can he get himself onto the podium?
I think we're also seeing the gap kind of just become quite static. It's now with Ekstrom to the lead. It's settled in at 14 seconds. Ecky's kind of back into 38s now, not making any inroads whatsoever towards either ROCKENFELLER just ahead of him or the 3 early pitters in 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So I think at this stage it's probably a case of Ecky's just made the most of what he can. The rest at 1.9 ahead of Glock, there's no threat there. Spengler 1.2. No, actually it's extended to 1.7 behind Glock, so I think Glock is probably feeling a little bit safe in 2nd place as well.
Second's where he finished that Formula 1 race. It was his maiden podium for Toyota. So, de Resta, 1.8 seconds clear of Glock. Mercedes leads, BMW leads a pair of BMW, Spengler 3rd. So then, of course, you've got for Mercedes, who've got their man in the lead of the race. Maro Engel is there to block any potential challenge from Mike ROCKENFELLER, who's perhaps a danger, but I think really running out of time anyway now, 4 minutes 45 seconds. And he's back in the 137s, 137.9. But, you know, that's going to be good news for Glock and Spengler. Engel's actually going to help protect their places on the podium, isn't he? So, slight quandary this for Mercedes. They want to protect the win, but they're also, in a way, helping Glock and Spengler, the BMWs, by having Engel to fend off that man, Mike ROCKENFELLER, who just goes a bit wide there as he tries to straight line the chicane. There is Rocky.
Probably got a little bit of air while he was doing it as well. So De Resta leads after starting in 14th place, 13th place.
De Resta, yes, he was down the grid, wasn't he?
See a replay of Rocky missing the chicane whatsoever. Takes the little bit of run off road. You get a little bit of lift as you exit because there's a little kind of lip on the exit of that on the exit of the runoff area to chicane. It's not an aggressive lip. It doesn't like flip you into the air or anything like that. No. But it's enough to make you know about it.
Question whether Engel did come in now because it says not on the screen. I'm sure I saw him coming into the pits in front of me, but they're leaving him out, and we'll just have to make a stop, which will explain why he's not absolutely flying at the moment. So that's why he's still 4th. But where could he finish? He could still get in the points just about, I think, Maro Engel. If he makes a very late pit stop, yeah, I think he could still finish in the points here.
I think Engel actually, you know, for tyres that are 30 laps old, he's actually holding pretty solid pace. The mid 39s. It's the same pace as as Glock and Spengler in front of him, so he's actually doing a really, really, really good job.
But he's going to keep Rocky behind him well, I mean, Rocky is going to get in front of him anyway, but Rocky's 2 seconds a lap quicker, and he's 2 seconds a lap quicker, and you got DRS. How can he fend that sort of pace off? It's going to be very hard for him to do, isn't it? Even at a circuit where it's not easy to overtake. Now, ROCKENFELLER, we saw him under investigation for leaving the track. We saw him going right off the track at the chicane, so they are looking at that now and saying, actually, you know, is that going beyond track limits to gain an advantage here? 1.9 seconds a gap from De Resta to Glock. Now, on that lap there, it opened up by a couple of tenths. It stayed pretty stable. Glock, in turn, is just over 2 seconds clear of the 3rd place car of Spengler. And there is Maro Engel on old tyres. It transpires, trying to fend off Mike ROCKENFELLER, who is the best part of 2 seconds a lap quicker, and trying really, I don't think he's going to win the race now, but he's trying to get a podium finish here. So, as I say, by leaving Maro Engel out as long as possible, this is kind of helping BMWs, but he comes into the pits now, so he will drop out of 4th place. He may still be in the points. I reckon he could be 9th or 10th if they get it together in the pit stops. So ROCKENFELLER can, in the final 2 minutes plus a lap, can he get himself on the podium now? He's 4th, trying to catch Spengler.
It actually depends a lot on the pace of Paffett, Wittmann and Mortar, which has actually been pretty sluggish for the last few laps into the 1 minute 40s and the 39s. But yeah, it's going to be very close. I think he might just miss out, unfortunately.
Well, he's got to go like a rocket now, hasn't he? So Maro Engel coming out. Over the line goes Wittmann in 10th place. Wittmann, I think, will just about get there, and he'll have better tyres. So I think Maro Engel might be just outside the points, 11th, possibly 12th. Once he gets the tyres up to temperature. So there is the 4th place car. There's 3rd. There's Bruno Spengler on much, much more worn tyres. ROCKENFELLER coming through. Engel has actually lost out on the pack coming through as well. Might lose more places. Might be well out of the top 10. So Bruno's got to make his car very wide now. A minute left on the clock. There's 1 lap at the end of the time running out as well. And you can see just how much Mike ROCKENFELLER, who's under investigation for leaving the track a couple of laps ago, he's pushing here. This is a chance for Mike to get himself onto the podium for the 2nd time this season. He's been in the points in every race so far. His worst result this year is a 7th place finish. He's had a 3rd, 2 5th and a 7th.
Rocky took 9/10 of a second out of Spengler in the middle sector alone. Now that he's actually been released from England, I'm not actually that surprised, to be honest, that there's no further action, because I think Rocky had to lift off when he was going through that runoff area anyway, so they probably concluded it was not much of an advantage. So Spengler comes across the line. He does a 27.7 in the final sector. Rocky does a 27.0. Rocky has taken 2 seconds out of Spengler in that final lap, or that last lap there.
He's got this lap plus another to go as well, so remember that Spengler's got no DRS passes left. Rocky has. He's in striking distance now. He's within a second. So if Rocky gets past him, Spengler's going to have nothing to fight back with. He's not going to be able to use his DRS. He's got older tyres, so he's going to have to make this the widest possible car now. The biggest, fattest BMW for 2 laps. There is the Mercedes of Paul De Resta. This is going to be a mighty victory from 13th on the grid. Can he win the race? Nobody expected a Mercedes to be at the top step of the podium, but they played this dead right, haven't they? Timo Glock is going to be in 2nd place. What about 3rd, though? Can Bruno Spengler fend off the fast advances of Mike ROCKENFELLER? Both of them former champions, of course, don't forget, both fantastic drivers.
And incredible that we were thinking it was all woe for Mercedes at the start of this race, where Lucas Hauer was their highest qualifier in 8th place, and thinking, well, it's all about damage limitation. Well, they could come up with a big prize today.
Absolutely right. And it just shows how the team can have a major input here if they get it dead right. It's a big team sport. It's not just about what the drivers achieve. So Mike Rockenfeller, of course, his best chance is going to be through turns 1 and 2. That is where he's going to have his best opportunity to get through. Rockenfeller won the title in 2013 up against Bruno Spengler, who won it the year before him. And here they come, nose to tail, about to start the last lap of the race. Spengler's BMW in 3rd place, looking for his first podium for a while here. Can he hang on to it? It is all about turn 1 and 2, really. And he knows it. He defends, and hopping and bouncing over the line comes the Audi, who's got his nose in front. He uses the DRS, but Spengler's got the best line here. He's got to try and cut back now as they run out of the corner. Spengler plays it just right. He keeps it on the line. He keeps it neat and tidy. He doesn't outbrake himself. And if he can fend him off through turn 2, I reckon that's half the job done. So fantastic effort that by Bruno Spengler to keep him behind. Bruno off the back of a couple of very disappointing years, really. It's going to be his first podium since Moscow last year. If he can hang on to this, Bruno coming up now the hill through that very quick left-hander at turn 4, taking some curb, but Mike Rockenfeller, you can see the car is much more planted, but Lee through this second half of the lap, very difficult to overtake.
This is the last chance for Rocky. If he can just get his nose out into the coming into chicane, he can't quite manage it unless Spengler goes off. He holds it too as it comes through the chicane. That was absolutely brilliantly played by Spengler. Wonderful defence through those first few corners, and I think it might just be enough to hold Rocky at bay. This is going to be a very, very, very happy Bruno Spengler today, I think.
All he can do, it's going to feel like a win for Bruno, I think, isn't it? All he can do is keep putting the pressure on here, Mike, and hope that Bruno gets it wrong coming out of one of the corners on the way into turn 12, then coming up towards the end of that, into turn 11, rather, the end of the lap. Mike Rockenfeller half a look at the inside here on Spengler, but Spengler is playing this absolutely dead right, coming out of turn 13. Already, though, the checker flag is within sight. It's going to be an 8th win of the DTM for Paul de Rest. The second place to Timo Glock, and it's going to be close for 3rd, but it will be Bruno Spengler that takes the final place on the podium for BMW. Mike Rockenfeller threw everything at it, but could have probably done with another couple of laps, but that was tremendous driving from Bruno Spengler with much older tyres to fend him off. And remember, Bruno started the race 17th on the grid. It's not the first time this season that we've seen drivers from lowly grid positions getting very strong results. Mike Rockenfeller himself has done it. Marco Wittmann's been another one come charging through the field. And there are the championship front-runners coming through. Jamie Green, 7th. Gary Paffett in 8th place, both closing the gap to Lucas Hauer, who's going to finish out of the points in 13th position. BMW celebrate. It will feel like a win, and what a turnaround for Mercedes and Paul de Rest. So BMW are still without their first win of the season, and here is the moment. This was when, going into the start of the final lap into turn 1, Bruno Spengler, it would have been so easy here, Lee, to outbrake himself and go wide coming out of turn 1. That's what Mike was banking on, but he just kept it bang on the line. Absolutely fantastic result then with Mercedes. Paul de Rest of the winner. Uli Fritz, I'm sure, will be delighted he's speaking with Verena.
Oh, I'm sure. Uli Fritz, you've got to be absolutely raving. I can't see the smile yet, but I'm sure I will see it, because talking to you before the race, you were not as cheerful because you were skeptical, but now you won the race, so you did everything right. Congratulations. We've got very happy people. Maybe you just want to see here. So I guess you're lucky you're not taking a shower right now, but you've got to be absolutely cheerful.
Yeah, absolutely. We're more than happy. I mean, qualifying didn't go as expected, and yeah, I mean, of course we were a bit lucky with the safety car, but in the end you have to bring it home. I mean, Paul did a really early stop and he managed his tires really good, and yeah, just happy at the moment.
But I've got to say, I've got to ask, the safety car phase was kind of the miracle you were hoping for, wasn't it?
Yeah, on the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, I mean, Luki is leading the championship for us. So it was, of course, sad, because after the safety car, he got taken out of the race completely unnecessarily. So that's for sure not what we want to see. But yeah, that's the other side. But at the moment, we are happy for Paul, and of course also for Gary and Edo finishing in the top 10.
All right, thank you very much, Uli Fritz, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, very well played by Uli Fritz and Mercedes. You see, BMW are absolutely delighted with their 2 places on the podium as well, especially for Bruno Spengler, you feel. So Paul di Resta coming into the pits, his first win of 2017, his 8th win in the DTM, and their confirmation of the results on screen. Nearly an hour of racing. Paul di Resta winning by just 1.3 seconds from Timo Glock. Bruno Spengler on the podium, just fending off Mike Rockenfeller. Matthias Ekström 5th. René Rast came back into 6th place in the end. The early race leader, Jamie Green 7th, Gary Paffett 8th, Marco Wittmann in 9th place. Edo Mortara, I think we'll be pleased as well, 10th place from, what was it, 16th on the grid to get the final points. Nico Muller out of the points. Augusto Farfus, it looked good for Augusto at one point in the race, but unfortunately that mid-race contact didn't do him any favours. He was 12th in the end. Lucas Auer out of the points in 13th, as we heard. Maro Engel dropped to 14th. The big cluster of them came through. If he could have pulled another couple of seconds clear, I think he might have just maybe got in the points, but it was very, very close between Mortara in 10th place and Engel in 14th. There was actually only about 4.5 seconds between them come the end of the race. Loic Duval dropping out, and on finish for Tom Blomqvist, non-finish for Robert Wickens, who's had a real mixed season so far, and Maxime Martin as well, with a non-finish being investigated for non-sporting contact, it says. So there is Bruno Spengler getting out of the car, and absolutely delighted with that. Bruno back on the podium, first time this season. But Paul di Resta has got them all over him here. Paul di Resta, the race winner. And back on form, because former champion in 2010, went off to race in Formula 1. Never quite got on the podium in Formula 1, a couple of 4th place finishes, but some strong performances. He wasn't in a front running car, in all fairness to him. And he's come back to what's become an increasingly competitive DTM. And there is Timo Glock, the ever-likeable German, who's going to be congratulated by Bruno. 2 really nice guys, these, and well pleased that Timo likes this circuit, loves this track. I say he's got this success here in the past in Formula 1 when he was a Toyota Formula 1 racer. Onto the scales now for Timo. And they're making a bit of noise down there, Lee. They know, don't they, that's a bonus victory for Mercedes. It's a bonus couple of podiums for BMW.
It is, absolutely, and great drives from di Resta, Glock, Spengler. We can't take anything away from them, but I think Audi are going to look at this tonight as a race lost. The safety car came out, they should have pitted their drivers straight away, instead left them out and kind of almost left them to fend for themselves and fall down the order.
When you've got your cars, 5 of your 6 cars are on the first 3 rows of grid. They were top 5 in qualifying, top 5 on the grid, and they haven't even got a podium out of it. The best being Rockenfeller in 4th, Ekström in 5th, Rast in 6th, Green in 7th place.
Rast is going to be incredibly disappointed as well to be leading the race for the most part and then end up 6th, because that's unfortunately how the strategies pulled it out.
Eki likewise, of course, he pulled that move on him. Eki was actually only 0.6 of a second clear of Rast. We were obviously, understandably, concentrating on that battle for the final spot on the podium late on, but René Rast all that time was closing back to Matthias Ekström to try and get the position back, the 2 that were formerly battling for the lead of the race.
Green pulled back several positions in the late laps as well. He's finished 7th. He was kind of looking possibly on for a 9th, 10th place finish before he moved past Wittmann and then Paffett. And of course had that door-to-door with Edo Mortara twice.
Yes, there might be a conversation between those 2. I think neither looked best pleased with the other, did they? Right, updated the points. It's much closer now. 8 points, Lucas Auer, his advantage at the top of the table. Jamie Green, slightly bittersweet that. He could have had a better day, but actually he's closed the gap in the points, which is the main thing. I suppose he'll say, you know, I could have been even the championship leader if things had worked out better. So Mike Rockenfeller up to 3rd on 53 points as well. Mr. Consistent this year, as I say, worst result 7th. Rob Wickens had a terrible Hockenheim. He had a pretty good Lausitz ring, although having been on pole position for one of the races, he didn't win, but he got 2 podiums and he got his season underway. And a very disappointing start so far here as well. Nico Muller is another one that will be disappointed. He was involved in a bit of a melee and he's out of the points, and it looked like he was going to be potentially on for a top 5, top 6 finish in that race. But that's racing, isn't it? They all have their stories of woe. It could have been this, it should have been that. But it's the ones that get it together, get everything right and have no bad luck that make it stick in the end.
And of course it brings Wickens, as we saw a few moments ago, who was 5th in the championship before this race, now drops to 8th, whereas the likes of Glock was 8th, now up to 6th. A joint 5th, should I say, with Matty Ekstrom, both of them on 43 points. With René Rast still 7th with 42. Paffett, 4th place, down to 50. He's 19 behind so he'll be looking for a big day.
It's within a race window, isn't it? So, yeah, I think for Gary, it's, quite hard to pace in qualifying. It's damage limitation. But look, you get a different day tomorrow. You get another qualifying, you get another race. So
we get another
chances to move up.
We get another balance of performance.
Another balance of performance now, which has changed. It's based on race results from here on in. But here, let's concentrate on the podium and some very, very happy, smiley faces down there. And a success for Mercedes on the top step. BMW 2nd and 3rd. Mercedes, of course, are the winning manufacturer. Winning drivers, national anthem now. The British national anthem plays out here at the Hungaroring. And that's a big old trophy, isn't it? Or is it a shaving mirror? I'm not quite sure. Jeong Sang-soo, the managing director of Hankook, can provide all the tyres, present it. It's a mirror on one side, say circuit map on the other. Quite a funky trophy, that. He's going to need to nip down the local DIY shop and build quite a strong shelf to get that one onto, I would suggest.
Quite like it.
And, of course, Mercedes, winning manufacturer, and Mercedes-AMG Motorsport, Silver File Energy, the winning team. President of M&S presents the second place trophy to Timo Glock. He's always got a smile on his face. Seemingly, and terrific result, tactics working out there. And MotoGP World Champion, Gabriel Tomaski, placing the trophy to Bruno Spengler, who's never celebrated a third place like that quite so enthusiastically, I don't think, but well deserved that. Coming off the back, as I say, a disappointing result. That's 46th podium of the DTM career for Bruno Spengler now. And his 144th race, one of the most experienced drivers out there. So they're our top three, our winning team. They've got to do it all again tomorrow, though. And as you know, in DTM, Sunday is often a very different picture to what we see on Saturday. More qualifying, more races, more unpredictability. But Paul Di Resta becomes our third different winner of the season. And despite the fact that Bruno Spengler's not won on the podium for a while, he's still pretty quick to get the champagne open, isn't he? Terrific team effort, that. Well played, everybody, and they really turned that around. None of them were particularly high up the grid. Paul Di Resta was 13th, Timo Glock was 14th, and Bruno Spengler was 17th on the grid. So you'd be happy with points from there normally, and they've all got onto the podium.
And fair play to the trio as well. When it counted in the early stages of the race, they actually kept the pace solid. They weren't pushing so hard against themselves that they were actually ruining the tyres or going beyond their limits. They actually kept a very good pace and actually put them instead towards the end.
So a race winner for the 8th time in his DTM career, Paul Di Resta, is speaking to Verena on the podium.
Paul, you've got to be absolutely raving. Congratulations to a fantastic race. And I guess it's a perfect birth present for your daughter who was born on Monday. So you've got to be absolutely happy.
Yeah, every time I have a kid, I win the next race. I'm not sure I'll be having many kids soon, so maybe have to wait. But it's been a perfect week. We had a very good car in quali today, but my friend on the podium, Timo, blocked me in qualifying and should have been about P6. But it was always a plan to do what we did. And when you're light on the tyres like I am, you can do strategy like that. And it paid off. And the luck kind of repaid itself from unlucky Hockenheim.
Absolutely, but it's really amazing because you actually came from P13 to victory. That is very impressive.
Yeah, not normally a lucky number either, P13, but you know, sometimes in motorsport you take the luck and sometimes you're unlucky, and it's nice to be repaid in a way, but more importantly for the guys, because they're the ones that burst their butts for me. It's been a difficult start to now. Hopefully this is the kickstart we need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. You're supposed to be absolutely shattered when you've just had a newborn child. I know these things, but he's wide awake. He's winning races. It's all going perfectly well for him. So Paul Di Resta off the podium so far this year, his best result being a sixth place finish earlier on at Hockenheim, but tremendous effort there to take the victory today for all three of them to get up onto the podium. Good drive as well by Mike Rockenfeller, wasn't it, with that good move on Ekstrom, and Ekstrom himself had pulled off a good move. Get some highlights from the race now. That was Maxime Martin, who's being under investigation. You saw some of the lightning quick pit stop there for Bruno Spengler. Quickest pit stop that I saw was the Mike Rockenfeller one in terms of the time the crew spent. So that was the cause of the safety car early on in the race. Tom Blomqvist having a miserable race, really, one thing or another, and eventually retiring from the race altogether. So Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock, two of the early pit stoppers. This was Mike Rockenfeller then on newer tyres, trying his best to get onto the podium here. Bruno Spengler did a brilliant job to keep the Audi at bay and hang on to his podium and bring it home, the Canadian, in third place for BMW. You can see on the podium just what that meant to him, Lee.
And did very well, as we mentioned during the race, to do it without DRS. He was actually without DRS for an awful lot of the final sector of it, because he attempted to use a lot of it on his attempts to try and catch Glock during the event.
That's right, yeah. I said earlier, you know, he will save his DRS because, of course, he pitted so early, but then Glock pitted, came out just in front of him a few laps later, and he used half of them trying to get past Glock and be towed along. So he'll get some super slow-mos of our top three drivers. Bruno Spengler, a fantastic result. Verena is speaking to him. I would think this probably feels like a race win for Bruno.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm going to ask him directly. Bruno, coming from P17, even though it's a P3, it must feel like a victory for you.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm very happy for the whole team as well, because this morning we were very unlucky. We made a mistake in qualifying. We went out too late with the second set and I couldn't do my quickest lap, so we lost a lot of time there. But, you know, in the race, my guys really deserve a good podium. It has been a tough start of the season, but the whole team did a great job in the pit stop. The strategy to take the risk to come a second time in the box to do a pit stop, to have fresh rubber for the end was just well done. We have been also lucky in the race, we have to say. But great job for everyone, and I'm happy for BMW and for RBM that we have position 2 and 3. It's great.
And you were defending really hard because Mike Rockenfeller was attacking you like crazy in the end. Honestly, were you a bit scared perhaps that maybe he was a bit faster in the end and you could have even lost P3? I mean, you had to be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I wasn't scared, but I knew that he was catching and I knew that he was so fast. He was like a second quicker per lap. He was amazing, the quickest in the field by far. So I knew that I had to defend like hell. I wanted to keep the podium and I did everything I could to defend, but 1 or 2 more laps and I think he would have passed me. But he would have had a hard time, I think.
But you did a fantastic job, so congratulations, Bruno. And I'm just going to grab Timo Glock as well. Sorry for interrupting. Timo, a fantastic race for you as well, coming from P14 to second place. I mean, that was tough, but amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we need to be open-minded, and we know that we didn't have the chance today for the podium. We needed some luck, and this we definitely had. I mean, I had it 3 times today. Right at the start in turn 3, I was just right in the mix of this all these cars spinning around. Got through it without any scratch on the car. Then I made the right call at the right time to come in. Had a bit of a flat spot on the tire, so I decided I'd just come in. And then 1 or 2 laps later, the safety car comes out. And I knew from that moment on it's a race for the podium, and but as well a race against the Audis. So tried to keep my tires alive. Didn't follow too close Paul, and just try to have a rhythm, get it through the race. And at the end, you know, the third time actually was at the restart because there was another mix where cars spinning around. I was in the middle of it, so just happy. And we didn't believe that we can score 18 points today, so we take it. And but for sure we need to sit down and get on top of the speed problem we have at the moment. For sure, the Audis are slightly ahead, and even the Mercedes looks slightly stronger if you take the weight out. So, but at least you know, we risked. We took some risk, and it paid off. So at the end, I'm happy. I think I now need a Hungarian passport because every time when I come to this place, it works out for me. So. Really happy to be on the podium here.
All right, so let's see what you can do tomorrow. So thank you very much, Timo Glock, and that's it from us today. And we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow for the second race here at the Hungaroring. Here are the highlights. Enjoy and see you tomorrow.